That Christmas snack sitting in your stocking right now might not be what you think it is. We investigated Canada's most popular Christmas snack brands. We examined ingredient labels. We traced supply chains from factory to store shelf. We analyzed what Health Canada is not telling you. What we discovered will change how you shop for holiday treats forever. These are the Canadian Christmas snack brands you need to avoid. And by the end, we will reveal which option might actually be worth your money. Number 1. Smarties. Canada's most iconic Christmas candy. Those colorful chocolate candies in the hexagon tube have been in Canadian stockings since 1953. When you eat your Smarties, do you eat the red ones last? That jingle is burned into Canadian memory. Smarties are everywhere during the holidays. Stocking stuffers, advent calendars, office candy dishes. The bright colors scream Christmas celebration. Parents give them to children without a second thought. Grandparents keep them in candy dishes. Teachers hand them out as classroom rewards. The brand has 903,000 followers on Facebook alone. This is not a niche product. This is Canadian childhood in candy form. But here is what Nestle does not want you to know. Smarties are owned by Nestle, the Swiss multinational with over 2,000 brands worldwide. And Nestle has one of the most disturbing corporate histories in the food industry. This is the same company that faced international boycotts over aggressive baby formula marketing in developing countries. The same company that has been accused of water privatization that leaves communities without access to clean drinking water. The same company that has faced lawsuit after lawsuit over labor practices, environmental violations, and consumer deception. Let us talk about where that chocolate comes from. Nestle sources cocoa from West Africa, primarily Ivory Coast and Ghana. These regions supply over 65% of the world's cocoa, and they have a child labor problem that Nestle has known about for over 2 decades. In 2001, Nestle signed the Harkin-Engel Protocol, a voluntary agreement to eliminate the worst forms of child labor from cocoa supply chains by 2005. The deadline passed, they extended it to 2008. That deadline passed, they extended it to 2010. More extensions followed. Here we are in 2025 and the problem persists. 2 decades of broken promises. 2 decades of continued exploitation. The Corporate Accountability Lab published a report in September 2023 revealing that child labor continues on cocoa farms supplying major companies, including Nestle. Children performing hazardous work. Children earning less than the World Bank's poverty threshold of $1.90 per day. Children as young as 5 working up to 14 hours daily, using machetes, carrying heavy loads, exposed to pesticides without protective equipment. Some children are trafficked from Mali and Burkina Faso, promised good-paying jobs by traffickers at bus stations, then trapped on cocoa farms for years. Some never see their families again. Some never receive a single payment for their labor. This is modern slavery fueling your Christmas candy. When American consumers sued Nestle in California federal court over child labor in their supply chains, what was Nestle's defense? They argued they cannot be held responsible for conditions on farms they do not directly own. The case went to the Supreme Court of the United States. In 2021, the court ruled in favor of Nestle on technical grounds, stating the alleged harms occurred overseas. The children remain uncompensated. The labor practices continue, and you keep buying Smarties without knowing any of this. But here is what makes this worse for Canadian consumers specifically. Nestle operates a major manufacturing facility in Toronto, Canada, at 72 Sterling Road. This factory produces Smarties for the Canadian market, but the cocoa still comes from the same West African supply chains. Same sourcing, same ethical problems. The Made in Canada label on the package does not mean ethical sourcing. It means Canadian processing of potentially tainted ingredients. Nestle will tell you about their cocoa plan. Launched in 2009, they claim to be addressing child labor through community programs, school building, and monitoring systems. Independent assessments tell a different story. The Fair Labor Association investigated Nestle's cocoa supply chain and found multiple serious violations of their supplier code. Violations that persist because there are no local laws to provide fair and safe working conditions. Follow-up reports in 2019 and 2021 showed minimal progress, same problems, different press releases. And let us talk about heavy metals. Consumer Reports tested chocolate products and found lead and cadmium in virtually every sample. Dark chocolate had the highest levels, but milk chocolate contains these metals too. Smarties are milk chocolate. The cocoa solids where lead and cadmium accumulate are present in every Smartie you eat. No testing data is published for Smarties specifically. You have no way of knowing the contamination levels. You just trust the brand and feed them to your children during Christmas celebrations. Number 2, Coffee Crisp, the uniquely Canadian chocolate bar. Layers of crisp vanilla wafers sandwiched with coffee-flavored cream, all coated in milk chocolate. Coffee Crisp has been a Canadian favorite since 1939. It makes a nice light snack, as the slogan says. These bars show up in Christmas stockings, holiday gift baskets, and office exchanges across the country. You cannot get them in the United States. This is our chocolate bar. Canadian pride in every bite. But Coffee Crisp is also owned by Nestle. Same parent company. Same cocoa supply chains. Same child labor concerns. Same heavy metal contamination possibilities. That Canadian exclusivity does not mean ethical exclusivity. When you buy Coffee Crisp, your money flows to the same multinational corporation with the same documented problems. Here is what else Nestle does not advertise. Coffee Crisp contains palm oil. The ingredient label shows vegetable oil, which in Nestle products typically includes palm oil. Palm oil production is linked to massive deforestation in Indonesia and Malaysia, habitat destruction for endangered species including orangutans, indigenous communities displaced from their land, carbon emissions from destroyed rainforests, contributing to climate change. You are eating Christmas treats that fund environmental destruction. And let us examine what ultra-processed means. Coffee Crisp contains modified milk ingredients, soy lecithin, artificial flavors, and various emulsifiers. These are industrial food processing ingredients designed for shelf stability and cost reduction, not for your health. Studies show that ultra-processed foods are linked to increased risk of obesity, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain cancers. The World Health Organization has raised concerns about the global rise of ultra-processed food consumption. Coffee Crisp is textbook ultra-processed. But here is the pricing deception that should enrage you. Nestle has raised prices repeatedly over the past 3 years, citing inflation and rising ingredient costs. Coffee Crisp now costs $2.49 to $2.99 for a single bar at most retailers. Nestle's profit margins remain healthy. In their 2023 annual report, Nestle reported organic growth of 7.2% with underlying trading operating profit margin of 17.3%. They are not struggling. They are profiting while passing costs to consumers and maintaining supply chains with documented ethical violations. Number 3, Caramilk, the mysterious caramel chocolate bar. How do they get the caramel inside? That marketing question has been asked for decades. Caramilk has been a Canadian favorite since 1968. Those golden squares of flowing caramel inside Cadbury chocolate are Christmas tradition. Gift boxes of Caramilk appear under trees across Canada every December. The secret of the Caramilk bar has been featured in countless television commercials. It is Canadian advertising history, but the real secrets behind Caramilk are far less charming than clever marketing. Caramilk is owned by Mondelez International, the company that also owns Cadbury. Mondelez is a massive multinational corporation with annual revenues exceeding $36 billion. They own Oreo, Ritz, Toblerone, and dozens of other brands. And Mondelez has their own documented problems that Canadian consumers rarely hear about. Heavy metal contamination in chocolate is documented across the industry. Consumer Reports and As You Sow have tested chocolate products for years. Lead and cadmium appear in virtually every sample tested. These metals come from 2 sources. Cadmium is absorbed from the soil by cocoa plants and accumulates in the beans as the tree grows. Volcanic soils in South American growing regions contain particularly high cadmium levels. Lead accumulates on cocoa beans during post-harvest drying when beans sit exposed to environmental dust, contaminated soil, and sometimes traffic exhaust from nearby roads. The health effects of lead and cadmium exposure are well documented and frightening. Lead exposure in children causes neurological damage, lower intelligence quotients, behavioral problems, and developmental delays. There is no safe level of lead exposure for children, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Cadmium accumulates in the kidneys over decades and never leaves your body. Chronic exposure is linked to kidney disease, bone problems, and increased cancer risk. Every piece of chocolate you eat adds to your lifetime burden of these toxic metals. Here is what should concern you about Caramilk specifically. Cadbury chocolate has been named in lawsuits over heavy metals. Mondelez settled in 2018 as part of an industry-wide agreement to fund research into reducing lead and cadmium levels. But the settlement did not require immediate reformulation. It funded studies, it created committees, it generated reports. Years later, contamination persists across the industry. The companies got good press releases about taking action. Consumers got continued exposure to toxic metals. And here is the Canadian angle. Caramilk is manufactured at the Cadbury factory on Gladstone Avenue in Toronto. The Caramilk secret is supposedly locked in a vault at that address. Cute marketing. But that Toronto address does not mean Canadian cocoa. Mondelez sources globally from West Africa and South America. Same regions with child labor concerns. Same soil with cadmium contamination. Same post-harvest processes where lead accumulates. If you are finding this video helpful, hit that subscribe button right now. We expose food industry deception every single week. And what is coming next will shock you even more. Number 4. Hawkins Cheesies, the Canadian cheese snack icon. Those bright orange cornmeal puffs coated in aged cheddar cheese have been made in Belleville, Ontario since 1949. Hawkins Cheesies are genuinely Canadian, family-owned for generations, currently run by Kent Hawkins, grandson of founder Willard Trice Hawkins, manufactured domestically using the original machine invented by James Marker, not owned by a multinational corporation, not shipped in from overseas. They show up at Christmas parties, family gatherings, and hockey games across the country. The distinctive red and white striped bags with the maple leaf are nostalgia packaged as snack food. Corner Gas featured them prominently. They have become a symbol of Canadian identity in the snack aisle. But here is what that bag contains that might concern you. Hawkins Cheesies include tartrazine, also known as yellow number 5 or E102. This is a synthetic, petroleum-based dye used to give foods a bright yellow or orange color. It was first synthesized in 1884 and gained widespread use in the food industry during the 20th century. And tartrazine has a controversial health history that is finally getting regulatory attention around the world. Studies have linked tartrazine to hyperactivity and behavioral issues in children. A significant 2007 study published in The Lancet examined 267 children who consumed artificial food colors, including tartrazine. The randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial found that artificial colors resulted in increased hyperactivity in both 3-year-olds and 8 to 9-year-olds in the general population. This was not a study of children with diagnosed attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. This was the general population, your children. Children with no prior behavioral concerns showed increased hyperactivity when consuming these synthetic dyes. Additional research has raised even more concerns. Studies have found that tartrazine can worsen eczema symptoms in children. Research suggests connections to migraines, anxiety, depression, blurred vision, and sleep disturbances. Of all the synthetic azo dyes, tartrazine is considered the most allergenic, particularly causing reactions in people with aspirin sensitivity or asthma. Symptoms can include hives, itching, coughing, and in rare cases, more severe reactions like angioedema. The European Union took this research seriously. Products containing tartrazine in Europe must carry warning labels, stating that the product may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. Norway and Austria have banned tartrazine from foods altogether due to concerns about allergies, asthma, skin rashes, hyperactivity, and migraines. The European Food Standards Agency deemed 6 artificial food colors, including tartrazine, unsafe for children. But in Canada, no warnings required, no restrictions, just bright orange snacks marketed for family consumption without any indication of potential risks. Here is what happened in the United States in April. The Food and Drug Administration announced a plan to phase out all petroleum-based synthetic dyes, including tartrazine, by the end of 2026. The agency cited concerns about hyperactivity in children and hypersensitivity reactions in sensitive individuals. California has already passed state-level bans on certain synthetic dyes. The regulatory landscape is shifting, but Health Canada has not announced similar action. Canadian children continue consuming tartrazine without warnings. Hawkins Cheesies also contain hydrogenated vegetable oil. This is the source of trans fats, linked to increased heart disease risk. The company claims they switched to an oil without trans fats, but the specific oil type remains a trade secret. You cannot verify what you are eating. Additionally, the snacks contain disodium phosphate, a food additive that in high amounts can affect kidney function and mineral balance. The irony is painful. Hawkins Cheesies represent everything good about Canadian manufacturing, family-owned for generations. Made in Ontario with real aged cheddar cheese. No multinational corporate parent extracting profits, but they still include a synthetic dye that is being phased out in other countries due to health concerns. Being Canadian does not automatically mean being healthy. Number 5. Ganong chicken bones. The strangest Christmas candy with the most devoted following. Bright pink cinnamon-flavored hard candy shells surrounding bittersweet chocolate centers. Chicken bones have been made by Ganong brothers in St. Stephen, New Brunswick, since 1885. They are a maritime Christmas tradition passed down through generations. Atlantic Canadians stock up every holiday season. The candy appears in stockings, gift baskets, and Grandma's candy dish from Halifax to Charlottetown. Ganong is Canada's oldest candy company, founded in 1873. They are family-owned for 5 generations. The CEO is Brianna Ganong, continuing her family's legacy. Only 3 workers in the entire plant are trained to make chicken bones. It is considered a position of prestige. The candy is still handcrafted using nearly the same process as 1885. This is artisanal Canadian manufacturing at its finest. But here is the reality check. Chicken bones are still candy. The primary ingredients are sugar, corn syrup, and more sugar. One serving delivers a significant amount of added sugar with no nutritional benefit beyond pure caloric energy. Health Canada recommends limiting added sugar intake, especially for children. The World Health Organization suggests less than 10% of daily calories from added sugars. A handful of chicken bones can approach that limit quickly. The chocolate center comes from cocoa, which means the same industry-wide concerns apply. Ganong does not publish sourcing information for their cocoa. They do not disclose supply chain details on their website. Without transparency, consumers cannot verify whether ethical sourcing practices are followed. A small family company has less purchasing power to demand supply chain accountability compared to multinationals. But small scale does not mean automatically ethical. Here is where Ganong stands apart, though. As a small regional company, they have more flexibility in sourcing decisions. They are not beholden to shareholders demanding maximum profit extraction. They have maintained the same recipe and process for 140 years, suggesting commitment to quality over cost cutting. And their limited distribution, primarily Atlantic Canada, means shorter supply chains and more local economic impact. So what have we learned from these 5 Canadian Christmas snack brands? The multinational corporations behind your favorite treats have documented ethical violations in their supply chains. Child labor persists in cocoa farming despite decades of promises. Here is what you actually need to do. Read ingredient labels on every Christmas treat you buy. Look for tartrazine, yellow number 5, or E102, and consider avoiding products containing these synthetic dyes, especially for children. Check for palm oil and consider the environmental impact of your purchases. Research the parent companies behind nostalgic Canadian brands. That familiar logo often belongs to a multinational with problematic practices. For chocolate specifically, look for brands that publish third-party testing data for heavy metals. They exist, though they are rare. Consider fair trade certified products that attempt to address supply chain ethics. Though certification is not perfect, limit chocolate consumption for children, especially pregnant women who should consider avoiding dark chocolate entirely due to heavy metal concerns. Question premium pricing aggressively. Higher prices do not mean ethical sourcing or safer products. They often mean better marketing and stronger brand equity. The actual ingredients inside a $3 chocolate bar may come from the same supply chains as a $1 bar. Support genuinely Canadian companies when you can verify their practices. Ganong, despite being candy, represents local manufacturing, family ownership, and regional economic contribution. Hawkins Cheesies, despite the tartrazine concern, represents Canadian manufacturing jobs and domestic production. These companies are not perfect, but your money stays closer to home. The Christmas snack industry is selling you nostalgia wrapped in problematic ingredients, red and green packaging, childhood memories, family traditions, stocking stuffers that go unquestioned because they have always been there. But behind those familiar brands are multinational corporations, documented ethical violations, contaminated ingredients, and regulatory gaps that protect corporate profits over consumer health. Now you know the truth. Share this with someone who still believes expensive means ethical or Canadian means safe. Because what Canadians do not know about their Christmas treats is making them complicit in systems they would never consciously support. The choice is yours. Thanks for watching. Stay informed.